In this lesson, I'm going to be doing a CAD model of the tube hanger. Now, one of the things that I need to do is add the construction lines and the layers. So rather than start from scratch, the thing to do is, if you notice my layers have nothing here, is I'll take an existing drawing, and you want to make sure that it's imperial because it will actually carry over the line weights if you do it this way. And so you can't do it from metric to imperial because of the scale is all off. So here is a existing drawing that has all my layers and everything I need. And so you want to make sure everything's turned on. And then what I'll do is I'll go over here to the layer states manager, select it. And essentially what I want to do is create a new set of layers here, right? So you see I have, I'll say for tube hanger. All right, and I'll say okay. And there it is. And so that's good. So I'll close it. And so now what I need to do is on my new, so the other thing you want to do is this. You also want to come into here and on the layer type, select the layer and just make sure that you've got them all. So I'll say Control A, I want to load them all, right? So we're going to do that in the new one. So go to our tube hanger here and we'll go to our layer type because that's one of the things that doesn't come in. And I'll say load, Control A, okay. And now when I go to the layer, they're all in there, all right? So now let's go ahead and I'm going to bring in, import the previous layers, exactly the same process in the layer states manager. And I'll say import. Now the only thing is here, obviously you want to make sure you're doing the same place. It'll default to DWG, but you want to do the layer states, all right? And then wherever you put them, I put mine on my desktop here, restore states. And so then check it and you should see all the line types. Now remember, this doesn't work if you go from imperial to metric or metric to imperial. So you want to make sure you have that. But the great thing is here they are. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be starting out in my construction. So make sure that is my active layer, my construction layer. And then I'm ready to go here. So this is a little tricky little exercise. I've actually done this a couple of times and made some mistakes. The first time it was because the textbook wasn't, it was an older version. But if you notice, essentially what you have is this 1.5 inch here, and then, but it's actually not the full because it goes here to the 2 inch. So when you do the math, you want to be very careful. You essentially have 2 inches plus the radius of 1, that's 3 inches. And then plus this, you essentially have 1.5 minus 0.75 divided by 2, and it's going to give you 0.375. So essentially it's going to be 3.375 is the overall width. And again, it's a little tricky, so spend the time and do the math. So what I'll go here is I'll go to draw. Let's go ahead and do a construction line, and I'll type 0, 0 as my starting point. And then what I find is just make sure my snap settings are such with my polar snap. I'll go my horizontal and the vertical at the same time. And so you don't know the scale here, so you have to be a little tricky. You have to be careful as you do this. So now what I'm going to do is just offset this. So I can go up to the ribbon above, hit the offset, select the distance. Now I'm going to go ahead and build this out here for the construction lines. The total width of this, if you take 5 inches plus the diameter by half of the radius, that's 2 inches, so it'll be 7 inches. So let's say 7, enter, select the line to offset, and there it is. All right, and then while I'm here, let's go ahead and add, I'm going to put a 2 inch between both my drawing, and then let's go ahead and do, as we said, the width of this drawing. This is going to be my front, and this will be my side view. Select the object, and I'm going to make this one 3.375. All right, enter. And so let's go ahead now and we'll do the horizontal line. So let's like this one here, and the height of this is going to be the diameter of 4 inches on the backside. So we'll say it's 4 inches, and then I will select this, and I'm going to make this 2 inches apart for the drawing, just like I did with this is the top view, just like I did with the side view. And then let's go ahead, and this has to be the same, 3.375. Now, if you don't know why that has to be the same, then you're really in need of having an understanding of how orthographic drawings work. And so this should be a 45 degree. And sure enough, it is. So see how that says 45 degrees. All right, so that's good. You can keep that line there, but I'll just back it off there. All right, so that's the overall area where my part is going to be. Now, what I'm going to do now is go ahead and just add some construction lines to help me build this. Now, I'm looking at this. This is, for all intents and purposes, going to be my front view, and I'm only using it because it's the most area here. And so I'll call that my front view. So let's go ahead and build this out. So I'm going to be doing the construction lines. The nice thing about the construction lines is if I do the offset and I'm in another layer, it'll actually just maintain it in the current layer. So the first one I'm going to do is this width here. It's 1 inch, right? So I'll just say 1, enter, select the line, 1 inch. All right. And then let's go ahead and I like to do it so I have to do as little math as possible. So let's go ahead and select this object. Now this one's going to be 5 inches. And again, I'm just following the drawing here. So that's the 5 inch there. And so I think that's all I need to do. It gets a little confusing with all these lines here. There's a lot more I can do. For example, I need to do the, there's two here. So I've done this before. So let me try to remember here. This time I'm actually going to work backwards here. So that was a center. So that should be 2 inches. What a thing to do, I found when you're doing this is let's go ahead and just give this some overall dimensions. Now there's 2 dimensions you can do. One is for the overall construction lines, and the other is for the dimensions for the part. But let's go ahead and just add some dimensions here. Otherwise, you can get really confused very quickly. So let's just, this should be the overall, and this should be, and I always have a tough time with this whenever I'm going to the 0, 0, the Cartesian coordinate. It gets a little funny. And again, this is just my overall dimensions, just to verify what I'm doing this correctly. And so let's just motor through this. I'm not going to be doing, well, okay, so 3.375. And so I've made this 2 inches. I probably don't want to have that as my dimension, but just so you can see what that is. That's the distance between the 2 parts right there. All right, that doesn't really help me with any dimensioning though, so I'll probably want to get rid of it. And again, I noticed that when I do the dimensions on that Cartesian coordinate with AutoCAD, it just doesn't want to do it. So you just got to be kind of careful here. All right, so now again, what I've just done is this is just helping me understand where my lines are, because you can get very confusing. And it's really important you set this up, because if you do construction lines properly, the rest will just literally fall into place. All right, so let's just motor through this now. So now I have an understanding of what I'm doing. I'm going to get rid of these 2 inches here just so I don't confuse myself. So delete and delete. All right, so now what I want to do is build this out a little bit. I'm going to be kind of flipping back between horizontal and vertical. Let's go ahead and just say offset. Select the distance, and I'm going to do 2 inches because that's the center of the circle. So I'll type in 2, enter. Select my part. That should be midpoint, and I'm going to do the same. Let's see, do I do the same here? No, I don't. So that's the center. So for example, I recommend that you do all the construction lines at one time, but let's just show you what's going on here. So this is this is the object line. So I recommend you do them all at once, hidden lines, center lines, do everything at once, but just to see what's going on here. So if I'm doing this, I will go to my circle. Because I've already created everything in my layers, I don't need to do this. So in my layers, I've gone ahead and this one's going to be circle radius. Because I've done this in my construction lines, I've already put the layers and the line weight. It makes everything much easier. So what I'm going to need to do though is, if you notice, I've got this 3 inch. So I'm going to go back, and the nice thing is if I just type an offset now, I don't actually need to switch out of my layer. So I'll go here, the offset here is going to be, it's obviously 4 inches minus 3 inches. That's 1 divided by 2, so it's 0.5. And then I'm going to do the same thing here, but let's just build this out a little bit. So I'll say this one's going to be 4 inches, and this will be self-explanatory as I do it. And then I'll reverse that out essentially. So then this one will be 0.5. All right, I'm going to do the same on the top, 0.5, and on the bottom. All right, and so it can get a little confusing, I notice, but let's go ahead and that's why I like to kind of draw it as I go along here. Now, the cool thing is I'm still in the object layer, so I can in fact do that. So let's go here. We said that this height though is going to be radius of 1 inch. So the overall diameter of this is going to be 2 inch. So the height of this right here is 2 inch. So let's go to the offset. And type in 2. See that again. Watch out for that that 0, 0. It gets a little, so we're going to say through, that's fine. Offset, that should be 2 inches. All right, where did that go? All right, I guess that's right, going to be half of that. Okay, so good idea to verify as you go along here. So just verify what's going on, dimension. Now, again, this is not how you would dimension the part. So just be aware, you would never dimension it this way. We're going to be ending up dimensioning it, but I'm just checking my dimensions here for my construction lines. So this should be 2 inches. Ugh. Somebody should write AutoCAD and tell them please to fix that. It's really annoying. Okay, so let's get back to our object properties. And let's start building this out a little bit more. Oop, wrong layer. So let's select this right here and make sure we are in the object. Make sure our object is our active layer. There we go. So you just have to be careful when you start snapping things like I'm doing. That's all when you do construction lines. So the nice thing about this one is I'm going to draw a line, start at the very left here, and then I'm going to type in TAN for tangent. Select my circle. All right, and so I'm actually going to need another line here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say offset. And again, the nice thing is I don't have to change my layers through, select this line. And then you really got to be careful here because we want it to go right to that intersection. All right, and then I'm actually going to do it to the right also, to the side view. All right, now let's start building this out a little bit over here. So, all right, so then this overall width here is 1.5. And then we're going to say a couple more lines. This is going to be, we said that 0.75 divided by 2 is 0.375. So that's going to be the distance. Okay, so not a bad idea to check this dimension here. And honestly, rather than going back and forth, what I would probably do is keep it in the object layer, and then I could just drop it to the layer I need. All right, so we're going to go the other way here, offset. 0.375. Oh, that doesn't look right. Let's delete that real quick here. Let's just check this. So this should be 1.5. That's correct. .375. Just do that again. All right, so let's go ahead and build this out. So I'll go ahead to my, all right, so there's my rectangle. And then I'm going to draw this shape there with another rectangle. Now this is actually going to be a hidden line at some point. So I'm going to follow this over here and it should look something like this. But what I can do right now is just take this and throw it into the hidden line. All right. And then I'm going to draw this part right here. So this has got a radius. Now let's type in my offset. And the distance is going to be 0.5. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at this overall radius or overall diameter is 2. So the inside circle is 1. So that difference is going to be 0.5. So type in 0.5. All right, and then we've got that height. So let's get the center of the circle though, which will be 1 inch from here. And let's do the same here. Circle diameter. Circle radius, hold on. Circle radius. It's the inside. Then we'll do the outside. Then we can trim that off too. All right. All right, so now I'll just type trim. Should be able to see what I'm doing here. All right, so I want this and the line below it actually to be a hidden line. So then I'll select these 2 lines here and I will make those hidden. All right, so far so good. So I've drawn this. Now remember, if it's on the right side here, I'm looking from this back side. If I was my side view was on the left side of this, I'd be looking right at it. So a couple things I want to do here. Let's make another offset line so I can make my hidden lines on the front view. We're going to make this 0.5. And so that's going to be the hidden line. That's the circle cut out here. So I'll just draw 2 lines there. All right, I'm going to need to add those center lines later. So far, so good. So if you wanted to add a center line, for example, you know, it's not a bad way to do things is when you are going like I am, where you just take a line. I noticed that I didn't have a center line here. So let's go ahead and make a center line, new layer, and call this center line. Right. I'm not really remembering what the textbook said that center line should be. It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, I don't think. But let's just center line. I'm not really seeing at the top of my head here. So let's just make one. So what I mean is the color. Let's use something that hasn't been done here. Let's just make it green. Okay, and then line type, we're going to say center. And so this depends on the scale, which one you pick here. So sometimes you just have to try it out. So we'll go here and I'll say layer. Oh, I had one there, silly me. All right, sorry. Okay, there. Well, there's a center line right there. Let's add another side circle here. So let's just try to get as much done as we can here. Center radius. All right. Now let's build it from the top. I need a couple more lines here. So it's not a bad idea to hide your construction lines at some point. And just as you're going here, let's just double check and see. Yeah, it's at center. It should be red, I guess, is what's going on here. Let's go ahead and turn the construction line off, just so we can see what's going on. All right, so this would be a good chance to, looks like I have most of this already done. So I think I'm pretty good here. So let's go ahead and then build a top view. All right, now what you should do here is if you built this correctly on this 45 degree, what you would do is this. Now, I highly recommend that you just, this is a good time to remeasure and double check and do it again. But what you can do is I can select this line and I can just come down here. And if I built it properly, it should just snap right on there. Right. So let's try that again here. All right. So let's try that again. Offset. And through. And you should be able to snap it right on there, 0.375. Let's say again, through. I'm just going right down or up, it doesn't really matter. So I'm probably missing some lines, but you can see what's happening is these lines are being created here. So let's just take a look at what that means. So what that means is, for example, let's do this cylinder first from the top view. I'm just going to go ahead and select a rectangle view. It's going to, I know that it's here, and then I know that it comes up and it intersects on that 45 right there. So it's going to be like that, right? So what that is, it's rectangle, looking at this from the top view. Then I've got another rectangle here. So I'm going to have a little hidden line behind it, but let's go ahead and build that one out. And that's the top view of that part there. Oh. So let's go to our rectangle. And if you notice, it's coming up here and over, and it starts at the end and it comes. Now this one, it comes to that tangent point, which is right there, right? So what I would do here is say explode or trim. I could just say explode, E-X-P-L-O-D-E. Not sure if the books taught us that yet. And I could select this rectangle here. And then I could, well, there's a lot you could do here. I could trim it. Let's go ahead and I could just make a new line here. And then this one would be my hidden line. So again, I've kept everything in my, I'm working on my object layer, and then I'm just throwing things where I need to. All right, now let's get the center of this. This comes right through here, so just come up. And this is pretty straightforward here. Coming up. And that's going to be another hidden line. All right, some more lines to make here. So this comes all the way to the end here. So that's this line right here. And that's the top of this piece. We will make this this is my circle. So I can just come over here, come there. The other side, now I don't, let's see, let's go ahead and make an offset here. I could just figure this out, but let's just do it here. So this line right here through, that's going to be 0.5, that's right. So what we would know then is where through. .375, and that's what we said before. Let's see if that's right. Let's just verify this dimension here. So this circle should be 1 inch in diameter. That's right. And again, this is not how I would dimension this when I'm all done. But I just want to verify what I'm doing. So, all right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let's look at these two lines. These are going to be hidden lines. All right, we can make a center line here too. I think you get the idea. All right, well, let's keep this all the same, consistent. Okay, so far so good. Another center line. All right. So let's turn the construction line off just to see where we are. We're getting closer here. Now, if you don't see that, you can always go up here to dimension, and then you hit center mark. And you should see a center mark there. Boom. Okay. And so now this is in the layer that we may not want here. So I can just go ahead and say, let's put this into our center line. Let's keep it green for now. And then I could always, if I want, build that out. Rotate. Let's see if we can do it. Rotate. Select objects. Copy. Return. Do it again. So I'm just, as I do my rotation, I'm saying copy. All right, let's get the idea here. All right. we're getting close to being done here, I think. Let's turn the construction line off and start verifying some things. All right, we'll do the same to this one. Dimension, go to center mark. All right, I think you get the idea here. I'll just try to finish this up. So let's go ahead and rotate the object. Select the object. Select the center base point, which is going to be here. Copy. And let's do another rotate. Let's see if we can get a little greedy here. Select these two objects, center point, and then copy and snap that so. All right, so I'm probably not done here, but I think we've got a good, this is going to be a very long video, but I think we're in good shape. So now what I would do then is go ahead and dimension this. I'm just going to go ahead and throw all these dimensions here into my my construction lines. All right, because it's now I want to actually dimension this. So let's put these in actually my hidden lines, or not my, yeah, my construction lines. Okay, and now let's turn on our dimensions. Make this my current layer, and I'll just start dimensioning it. And I'm only going to dimension essentially what the book does here. So let's go ahead and dimension this out. Couple things there. Actually, this is the accurate way to do it. You would never actually dimension this whole thing from the front view. What you would do is dimension to the center of that cylinder, and then come down. So that is actually the way that you would technically dimension this. And what you would do then is do the diameter here. If it's a full circle, you always show it as a diameter typically, and if it's a radius, then you show it as a radius. Should make some sense here. All right, so what you do then is you add 5 and 4. So remember, when you dimension, less is more. So we're going to basically give it the overall dimensions that we're seeing here. So and this one is going to be a radius. Any more circles? I don't think so. So now let's go to the radius. All right. And we will say the width of this. You only need to do it from either the front view or the top view. It doesn't matter which, but you don't need to do both, right? So this is 1.5. This is 1 inch. And again, I'm just going to be dimensioning the same dimensions that they give us. Oh, afraid I messed that up. I was getting a little sloppy when I was doing this. I wasn't snapping all these. So far so good. Remember, the larger dimensions are typically to the outside. And if you always want to avoid a text overlap, so you can always move this inside or above it just by grabbing it. What more dimensions do I need? I think I just go 2 inch. I've got the 1 inch. I've got the 1 inch here. I've got the 4 inch to the center. I don't need to say what this is. We said this was 1.5. I think I've got all the dimensions here. So then what I would do is let's just go to my dimension style. And hopefully this works. Set current. or let's go, excuse me, modify. Let's just go to the precision, and this is at the hundredths. And we also, if you notice, there's no leading zero on that 0.75, so get rid of that. And I think we're good, and say okay, and say set current. Hopefully this will work backwards. There we go. All right, so I'm pretty happy here. I'm probably missing a few things here or there, but this has been a pretty long demo, and I think you could probably finish this up if you need to. So make sure that you are using your construction lines. It just makes this whole process much easier, right? And you have completed drawing the tube hanger with the construction lines.